Today we're looking at February 20th, a date that feels less like a day on the calendar and more like humanity's highlight reel. From empires reshaping coastlines to fruit flies taking joyrides into space. This is the day where borders move, popes get kidnapped, artists get booed, and the universe quietly whispers, "Are you sure you know what you're doing?" Spoiler, we usually do not. Let's jump into it. Segment 1, Empires, Colonies, and the Awkward Art of Territorial Decisions. February 20th has big, nobody checked the fine print energy. In 1472, Scotland annexes Orkney and Shetland because Denmark couldn't pay a wedding dowry. That's right, two entire island chains became the marital equivalent of, "Sorry, we forgot to bring a card. Please take these territories instead." Centuries later, the Spanish and French try their luck in the Americas. In 1521, Ponce de Leon attempts to colonize Florida, only to meet the Calusa people, who respond with the historical version of, "We're not interested," except with arrows. The colony collapses, Ponce dies, and Florida becomes the first recorded destination where a European arrives and immediately regrets his Airbnb choice. Then, in 1685, LaSalle heads for the Mississippi River and, like a dad ignoring Google Maps, misses entirely and lands in Texas. The colony fails spectacularly, but Spain freaks out anyway and fortifies the entire region. It's the only moment in history where getting lost actually inspires another empire to build infrastructure. February 20th, where the map changes because people forgot to plan, forgot to pay, or forgot how geography works. Segment 2, Law, Public Health, and the Growing Pains of Civilization. Let's fast forward to a world trying very hard to become civilized. Keyword, trying. In 1792, the United States establishes the Postal Service, which means citizens can finally complain about the government in writing at affordable rates. By 1839, Congress bans dueling in D.C., ending the era when elected officials settled policy disagreements by shooting each other. Imagine Congress today debating infrastructure with pistols at dawn. Actually, don't. Then, in 1905, we get Jacobson versus Massachusetts, where the Supreme Court rules that, yes, the government can require vaccines during a public health crisis. This is the landmark case that essentially says, your freedom ends where your germs begin. It becomes one of the most cited public health rulings in American history, proving that even in 1905, people were arguing about vaccines like it was a sport. And globally, February 20th becomes the World Day of Social Justice, which is humanity's annual reminder to treat each other with decency, a practice we're still beta testing. Segment 3, Fascism, War, and the Terrifying Efficiency of Bad Decisions. February 20th isn't just a date, it's a warning label. On this day in 1933, Hitler meets with Germany's wealthiest industrialists, gives a speech about why democracy is annoying, and walks out with millions of Reichmarks to fund the Nazi rise. It's the darkest crowdfunding campaign in history, with corporations essentially saying, what could possibly go wrong? Spoiler, everything. A decade later, on February 20th, 1944, the Allies launch Operation Argument. Big week. Thousands of bombs fall on German aircraft factories. The factories survive. The pilots do not. By forcing the Luftwaffe into constant combat, the Allies wipe out Germany's most experienced fighter pilots and shift air superiority for the rest of the war. And in 1956, Khrushchev delivers his secret speech, publicly dragging Stalin harder than Twitter drags celebrities. He denounces decades of purges and terror, opens the ideological floodgates, sparks uprisings, and accidentally launches the Soviet Union into the world's longest political identity crisis. February 20th, come for the geopolitics, stay for the catastrophic decision-making. Segment 4, Exploration. Space and science pushing every boundary. If February 20th has a hobby, it's breaking limits. In 1935, Caroline Michelson becomes the first woman to set foot on Antarctic territory, planting a flag in one of Earth's most unforgiving landscapes. It's the ultimate girls' trip, except with glaciers and existential dread. Then, in 1947, the U.S. launches fruit flies into space using a captured V-2 rocket. They survive, proving that fruit flies are better astronauts than most of us. This single experiment opened the door to human spaceflight. In 1962, John Glenn orbits Earth and instantly becomes the nation's favorite science hero. Then, in 1965, Ranger 8 selfies the moon thousands of times before intentionally crashing into it. Basically, the world's first cosmic influencer. By 1986, the Soviets launched the Mir space station, letting humans live in orbit long-term and proving that even in space, the 80s aesthetic cannot be escaped. And back on Earth in 1968, Dr. P.K. Sen attempts India's first heart transplant, so far ahead of its time that India didn't yet have a legal definition of brain death. The surgery pushes medical boundaries while revealing how science often outruns the systems meant to support it. February 20th, the date that saw a fruit fly reach space, a surgeon reach too far, and humanity reach for everything. Segment 5, Culture, Civil Rights, and Disaster. Humanity at its most dramatic. Let's end on the emotional roller coaster portion of the day. On February 20th, 1895, Frederick Douglass dies, a man whose influence on American civil rights is so monumental that even calling him foundational undersells it. Then, in 1927, Sidney Poitier is born, destined to break racial barriers on screen and redefine dignity in Hollywood. And by 1991, black artists dominate the Grammys, making it clear that American culture sounds, and always has sounded, black. But art isn't always welcomed. Two masterpieces premiere on this day to disastrous reception. In 1816, The Barber of Seville is booed so harshly, Rossini hides in a stable. In 1877, Swan Lake is dismissed as too complicated for ballet. Both later become iconic classics, proving that critics are often just people confidently misunderstanding brilliance. And February 20th serves up disaster, too. In 1943, a volcano erupts in a Mexican cornfield and grows for 9 years. An entire mountain born like an unwanted surprise gift from the Earth itself. In 2016, Cyclone Winston devastates Fiji. And in 2003, the Station nightclub fire in Rhode Island kills 100 people after pyrotechnics ignite flammable foam. An avoidable tragedy that forces an overhaul of fire safety nationwide. February 20th doesn't just remember history, it demands we learn from it. In conclusion, February 20th is a day where humanity expands borders, loses control, makes masterpieces, funds dictators, conquers space, improves medicine, and occasionally launches insects into orbit just to see what happens. It's a reminder that history's most important lessons aren't found in the big victories. They're found in the strange, messy, brilliant, and catastrophic choices that come together to shape our world. Thanks for joining me on this chronological roller coaster. This has been Kleppers Corner Today in History.